Okay, we'll call the meeting in order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Just to let everybody know, Commissioner Schultz is on the screen today. He's not with us physically on the screen, and we're gonna do roll call votes today, so he can participate, so. All right, we have the agenda. Everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections or?
This when you do the consent agenda, or we do that next? Next.
Well, we'll do the consent agenda when it comes time to. Yeah,
I'll move to approve the agenda.
okay. Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, sorry, we gotta do, sorry, go against my own rules. Do a roll call, please.
District one.
Yeah.
District two,
Yes.
District three,
Yes.
District four,
Yes.
District five,
Yes,
All right. Agenda approved. Approve previous board minutes from July 16th, 2024.
there's a correction that needs to be done on page 6 of this packet, does not agree with page 78 of last packet. I believe it's a typo, everything got shifted down for the amounts that were given to each of the communities, townships and so on. If you take a look at page 6, you will see that Spring Grove got $2,087,000. I think it's a shift in the computer. With that correction. The only thing I found.
on what page?
Page 6 of your packet for today.
2 millions for Spring Grove.
Yeah.
On the
I
payments.
think that's supposed to be up a couple of lines to La Crescent. Trying to see it on here, it probably shows up better on
Oh,
here.
City of La Crescent got 333 and
Yeah, yeah, which is,
is that,
I think everything,
112 or 113.
page 6 of this packet that you sent out last week for today. And I compared it with packet page 78 of the 16th packet.
so it should be,
They should be shifted,
La Crescent should have got the 2 million.
correct.
Or assigned the 2 million and Spring Grove the 333.
No, just shift everything up, because Houston should get the 333, the Hoka 199 and so on. I think it's basically a typo, but things got shifted down. And if this is the official record, we need to have it corrected. If you look at page 78 of the packet last week, that's where I found the difference. Okay. So if it mirrors page 78 of the 16th packet. Everything
Okay.
seemed to have gotten shifted
Yeah,
down, if you follow what I'm saying.
It might have, when it got copy and pasted it.
Yeah.
Might have misaligned.
So just to
Yep.
correct it, you follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
Got it.
All right, it's on page 78 of the previous packet
Yep.
with the numbers, and when I compared it to this one. So I was saying, well, it's a shift of numbers. Basically,
It's just a shift of line.
2 lines, yeah. I think it shifted down 2 lines or something.
Okay.
If you line them up, then it'll be fine.
All right.
So
So what, any other corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
moved with the correction.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, if not, we'll start with roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes,
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
All right, public comment. Now's your chance for a public comment. Chuck, you want to come forward and state your name and where you're from?
My name is Chuck Schulte. I live in Caledonia. I'm here because one thing caught my attention, and when I was looking into that, something else got my attention.
Mark, can you mute? Please?
Any rate, it caught my attention that on the last, the paper I read said that you put in a $200,000 wheelage tax, moved it from $10 to $20. I guess I don't understand that. So I went back into your videos to look to see, okay, what happened? What am I missing? Unfortunately, the current video you have on is June 4th. Okay,
It's not updated, yeah.
fellas, I can take this phone, do a video, and put it on the public realm before I leave this building. There is no excuse for that. None. It makes you guys look bad. So if you want to look bad, keep doing it. But anyway, so I was trying to catch up on why did we pull $200,000 out of the taxpayers of this county with wheelage tax, additional wheelage tax. I was trying to figure that out. And I was thinking through this process, gee, all the department heads put in their budgets for the year, right? Including the highway department.
for next year.
For
We're
next,
working on next
for 25, yeah.
Yeah. But that's an annual event.
Right.
So why do we need the extra 200,000
for
if
next
they
year.
if they turn in their budgets?
The 200,000 had to be decided before August 1st in order to get it into next year's wheelage tax. So it's an additional $200,000 of revenue for the highway department to be used to try and not increase the levy by the 200,000. $200,000 equates to 1.6% of the budget. If we don't do that and we raise the levy to $200,000, that 1.6 is spread over the entire properties of Houston County. As an example, if you have a $3,000 property tax bill on your house, and that $3,000, typically the county is about 40% of the overall tax. Some school, some city, and the county. 40% of the $3,000 is $1,200. 1.6% of that is a little over $19. So if you have two cars, the wheelage tax increase is $20. Otherwise, with a $3,000 tax bill, it's $19 and some odd cents. So it's going to come one way or the other. This is on the vehicles rather than the real estate tax.
Well, I guess I don't quite look at it that way. I just paid the license on my car yesterday, $720.25. I had a friend who bought a new pickup. I just visited him a couple of weeks ago. He said that license on his pickup is over $1,200 for the pickup. Okay. What bugs me is I can send this in to the state for $1 less than I pay up here for getting this, and I'm not taking into account, it'd be about even if you took in the postage into account. So that tells me that we're running our license bureau 20,000 cars in the county, according to your numbers, for $20,000. That's pretty cheap help. This has been going on for department. And this has been brought up years ago. And actually the boards have done nothing about it. There's 87 counties in this state. Why are we being so badly treated by the state? I think the state needs, this is what I do. I think the state needs to ante up. We can't run our department on $20,000. State,
Mhm.
we got a lot of departments we can't run on $20,000 in this building that are working pretty much for the state. It's time the state pick up a larger share of the cost. That $1 hasn't changed since Shep was a pup. But yet my wheelage tax can change. I think you're looking at the wrong end of the stick. That's my opinion. Because this has been going on for so long. We got 87 counties. I know there has to be a governmental connection. Somebody has signed a governmental connection with the state on this board. Why doesn't the 87 counties get together? Because this makes horse sense, going on in every county, and say, wait a minute, you know, we need a bigger slice of the pie. Instead of hitting me, people, this county, $200,000. So I say, you're looking at the wrong end of the stick. Thanks for your time.
You, Chuck. All right, we'll move on to appointments. Is there any other public comment? Move on to appointments, Houston County Historical Society report. They've handed out their numbers here, their financials. Bob, you probably, it wasn't in the packet, so you're not gonna be able to see that, but we'll listen to the report and see, you'll probably discuss some of that.
That's my fault. It wasn't the.
No,
packet.
that's
I-
fine.
I thought I sent it last Wednesday, but I did a wrong letter somewhere.
Okay. All right, welcome.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
We're, the society is so thankful for the continued support of the Houston County residents and of the approval of the commissioners. It's really appreciated. We have had a good year. We've had, we're working on our Sheldon Presbyterian Church. We're working on the interior because it had so much water damage and, it really is coming along, but a lot of decisions have to be made of how you can do it. And we also have work to do on the Christian Bungay Junior store in Heights, and we're eventually going to have to re-roof that. That's been on for 25 years, and it's been a good roof, but we're getting good roofs on all our buildings, so boards 50 years from now will appreciate us. And we had many researchers, and we have several new volunteers, which is great. And the volunteers have been working for weeks we have many displays. I think you'll really enjoy seeing them. We have expanded the railroad display, and we have an art gallery of Houston County artists. We have just
Printing press, the printing press.
printing press, a history of the Argus. And they're celebrating their 145th anniversary. And vintage clothing, and so if you get a chance, do stop in because it's really impressive what they've done. Deb is gonna tell us about a tour with them.
Okay, yeah, we had a bus tour and it came from over by Green Bay. Yeah, it was called Historic Farm Tours. About 55 people, and they just called out of the blue and asked if they could visit us. When he asked if there was a charge, and I said no, just donation, and he thought that was pretty good. That's possible because of your support. And they got lunch from Elsie's and ate at the museum and spent the whole morning there. And
55.
yeah, 55 people. So they were headed west from here and seeing some other communities in Fillmore County and such. So anyway, that prompted us to get going with our displays that Julie mentioned. So we're ready for the fair.
Yep. Good.
We're just staying at our same amount that we're requesting, and of course, things continue to go up. it's not like it used to be, that's for sure. But, do I have to say more? Say something?
You know, I would just say I've noticed, especially in archival material that we have to purchase for, boxes and such for our archives, and we've been trying to update a lot of it, so we've been purchasing a lot, and boy, it's expensive, the archival materials, but, yeah, everything.
Yeah, we have to store them in acid-free boxes. We can't just, use cardboard boxes. So it's just required that we do that. So we'd like to have some questions for us.
Well, I always try to during fair time to make a tour of everything, and it's always interesting. I always learn something new every time I go through there. So, we appreciate what you do.
Yeah, it's,
A lot of our buildings, and like she's mentioned, the Presbyterian Church, so we're on the interior now, and we consulted several people that know about historic restorations and
Mhm.
trying to, we can't really go back to the original, but then we don't want modern, so it's kind of fun feeling now that where that mix is and how to do that, but it's hard to find contractors when you need them right away. So yeah, I wait and stuff. But we need to do the exterior also, and then we need to move on to the town hall and the school. So there's a lot of work that's coming up.
yes,
How is the volunteer membership as far as the Historical Society? Growing, shrinking,
What do you
staying the same?
How is the volunteer membership? How many people do we have volunteer? You keep track of that?
well, we've got quite a few people that come in weekly. I'd say 10 maybe come in weekly, and we have at fair time, we have to have about 75 volunteers. And we do have for the people that come once a week and stuff, we have a special day where we call it our museum day off, and we have lunch and visit another museum, get some ideas and things. And in February, we have a Valentine party for all our volunteers, so. And we get some support from that, from some other businesses, so I think it's well received and people feel like they're appreciated, which we appreciate so much.
The historical items, are you getting pretty good donations from people as far as artifacts and whatnot from the county?
Then new artifacts we've gotten, you can mention the violin.
Yeah, we got a beautiful art on our violin, which I never thought we would acquire, and that's different than a regular violin. It's 8 strings instead of 4, and we had it needed a little bit of restoration, not much, but we've been getting some really great things. But of course, a lot of things now we are fine, we're running into so many duplicates that we have to decline, and that's so hard to do because people like to have their things in the society for the future.
Are the other buildings out there besides the new one of the church and school, and are they holding together pretty well?
Well, that's where that's what we're doing. The Presbyterian Church is getting the treatment right now,
Right.
the inside and then the outside, but then the town hall and the school eventually will need exterior work. The wood, doesn't last forever, and we've painted how many coats of paint on it, and so.
The worst part is the siding. It gets so it won't hold paint anymore, and it's kind of a waste to keep painting it. So we have to make a decision how we're going to handle that. But
Little bit about our volunteers, people kind of specialize, so we have a person that just works on obituaries. We have a couple people that are working on the Pollen Studio glass negatives. That's a massive project to take all these glass negatives and scan them into the computer and then clean them and then package them, and that's where a lot of our archival boxes have gone to. And then we have couple people that work on the displays, and then some people work on the researcher requests that come in on email. So everybody kind of fits in where what they like to do and help us out that way. So we
We
appreciate
get a
it.
lot of calls from people for research on family history.
Yeah, mostly emails a lot, but yeah.
Do you ever do any trading with other historical groups, you know, let's say that Wacussin has something duplicated and maybe two can trade, does that work? With, you know, if there's any other. Doesn't Spring Grove have one or
Well,
any
you-
trading going on that could,
Quite often they want them in a certain place, so put the only,
Yeah,
like we just received a baseball uniform and they specifically requested it be at the Isom store. Because the person was an Isom person, so we
Mhm.
try to accommodate as many of those requests as we can. So. It's it's an interesting place to work.
Mhm.
we support each other as far as this, like, if somebody that really wants to know about the apple industry, we say, well, Crescent has a nice museum part, that has information on that, or the Norwegian heritage, there's the giants, so we kind of refer people that way too.
okay,
So do you have? So these are your budget for your yearly budget numbers. Do you have a line for endowments? Do you have a savings account or?
We
Yeah.
have an endowment, yes.
Yeah, we have quite a large endowment fund
Okay,
that's. We can use the interest off of it, but basically it's being saved for future perpetuity of the historical society. 'Cause
right.
we always have to do things that require extra monies.
We're all volunteers right now, but down the road, I don't know how we can replace Shirley, but so we've got to think about paying somebody to
Right.
do some of these things. So we're trying to be very careful at it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's,
Anything else you like to add? Or-
Anything else?
Is there anything else you want to know? Okay, well, I appreciate your letting us come and do this every year. It's really
We
a
appreciate,
special day.
Everything.
yeah, we appreciate what you do. Thank you very much.
And we do remain an all volunteer organization.
Hopefully they keep coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 6 items on the consent agenda.
I'd like to have number 2 taken out. We've been discussing about changing the structure in the environmental service department.
So you want 2 taken out or you want it moved?
We
Or-
could go back, put it back on discussion,
Okay,
because we advertised for a specialist last week, right?
go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that. We haven't made that decision yet, we don't know what the structure is gonna be and. We need to be somebody to be the head of, if it goes to land use or something like that. We'd like to see if there's even people that are interested in it.
Well, we're appointing Amelia, so I mean. He's a pretty good candidate.
Well, I'm a little confused on, last week we accepted the resignations of Martin and Tess and the public health. There was nothing on there for re-advertising or, for the open position. So, for Amelia's position, we had on there that we're going to just reaffirm her role as planning and zoning administrator, which is what she is. She's fine. I mean, she's a senior environmental specialist. So, I mean, that's part's fine. And now, this week we're going to appoint her as the environmental services director,
Interim.
interim. So why wasn't this done last week? Just a question HR to have.
We took it off of last week's agenda, so I would have an opportunity to meet with Amelia and talk about it with her. And we hadn't had an opportunity to do that. We initially thought we might, but we weren't able, Amelia nor I were able to touch base with each other.
Okay.
So she respectfully requested, and I thought that was appropriate, that we just remove it for another week. And Martin's last effective day is this week. So we didn't see that that would cause any lapse in services whatsoever.
And so you got her down to be appointed as a D61 step 5.
Correct.
Is that the correct step?
I believe it's the correct step, considering the circumstances of her appointment. She is going to be, one, she is very experienced. 2, she will be performing basically the duties of 3 FTE. And it's going to be an incredible time commitment. And this is what she's willing to do it for. She's going to be performing all the feedlot, all the septic, for the basically 2 environmental specialists, both her senior position as well as the lower level position. And then all the other duties that are associated with the director that are on top of that. Yes, I think this is fair and appropriate.
Well, because on the agenda request from last week, you had her down to appoint her as a D61 step 1. Now this
That
week
was
is
as a-
step 5.
Commissioner, that was as a placeholder, and I had, as Amelia can confirm, I had tried to touch base with her and she with me, and our schedules did not allow that, so we removed it until we could talk about it.
So last week we approved advertising for a B24 environmental services tech, correct?
That's my recollection, yes.
So has that been done? Has that been advertised?
I don't believe the ad's gone out yet, no. That's in the process.
The only reason I question this is because the step 5 is a pretty big jump from where she usually, isn't it a routine when people move to a different category that they're at the next closest step plus 3%?
Correct. That is normally what our procedure has been, and going from her current level to her current banding to this level. Had she not had any experience, I think that would be appropriate. She has experience having done this in the past. She also is confirmed as the planning administrator. Excuse me. I'm missing the term.
Senior
The zoning administrator.
zoning administrator.
And her years of experience. If we were, quite frankly, if we were bringing someone in from the outside to do this, this is considering the experience. If we were looking at that solely, it'd be something we would be considering as some kind of mid-range appointment. And I do believe it's fair and appropriate. Certainly that's the final decisions up to this body.
So it's it's fair for the exception for this situation.
I think these circumstances are outside the normal circumstances when we have a routine banding change. Especially in light of the fact that she has experience performing in this role in the past and taking these duties on as a former department head.
She served as interim before at a D61 step 1-4, correct? Before Martin was hired?
I would have to verify her step.
Yeah.
And also, the one thing I do want to, I don't want to neglect to mention, when I look at step placement, I also look to see what, when their next step would be coming up, and she is due for a step. I can't remember the exact. Is it September? It's in September. So that also plays into it. You know, you don't want to be punishing somebody who's in line for their next step in their current band by not considering that when that's just right around the corner for them. But commissioners, this certainly is something that is your decision. But that is my recommendation, and I stand firm behind that recommendation.
That particular department is gonna be working with 2 people for a period of time, which usually had 4 to 5 people.
Correct.
And the extra duties and responsibilities, because of the experience, I feel it's appropriate also to go in that area there. Submitted on the form.
And keeping in mind, this is an exempt classification, which means it's salaried, it is not overtime qualified. Is also another potential factor when you're looking at the staffing levels. And we do expect our salaried people to work the extra hours it takes without additional compensation. Their schedule is, they're paid on an annualized basis. But Commissioner Severson, you're absolutely correct. This department will be operating on 2 FTE versus 4 to 5 FTE for a period of time.
I don't remember the last time we had 4 to 5. It was,
1, 2,
we had,
3, 4,
We
5.
used to be- we had 4 with Amelia, Jim, and Aaron.
Holly. Holly's in there too.
Holly, yep.
The partial FTE is the, I shouldn't say FTE, but people, because of the receptionist. But 4, let's say 4, that's still 2
I
versus
get
4.
that. I mean, just, I get all that, they're running on 2 people here. But we're gonna hire a 3rd one, hopefully, right?
And keep in mind, this is voluntary on Amelia's part. She doesn't have to accept this. So I don't know.
Well, I'm just looking at trying to be fair. I mean,
That's,
we just moved Carol basically to E82. She went to a 3% increase from where she was. Here, this is a lot bigger jump. This is going like 12, what, I mean, what's the percentage on that?
but I mean, the dollars are a lot less that you're talking about, so I don't know.
Well, it's like a $12 jump, but. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think we have to maintain the department. We need people. We did have 5 here a while back when Jim, Amelia, the department head, and Holly with the secretarial staff was there. Got to maintain the department. We got to get people in there. Amelia can handle it, but she's going to be handling everything.
For a
This
period
is an interim. But I think it's only fair. That's a high percentage, but there, we haven't even advertised yet. the new department head position, so. She hasn't got any help right. It's all on her shoulders. I think this only makes sense to me.
So. The fact that it's interim, if we were to shuffle and create. Combined departments to create a land use, and this position would go away, or. I mean, we don't know how all this is gonna work, but. It's understood that this is just an interim position. She could revert back to. Her. Role she's in now as senior. Environmental services tech. / zoning administrator, correct?
Senior environmental specialist. And the zoning and the appointed zoning administrator.
So,
I mean, that's up to this body when you are looking at your organizational structure. And I don't know that
So
anyone
when-
knows what that
when
answer
we're
is.
looking at that structure, so she's gonna be appointed interim. And let's say we create a land use department. Advertise or whatever for it and hire someone. Is it the understanding that that position might go away?
An interim position is just that, it's temporary. So that is certainly part of your conversation that you will be having. As to how your organization is going to look.
Right.
And when you look at what your needs are as far as the duties and maybe where you might find efficiencies in potentially in the assignment of those duties and how those duties are performed and the processes that are used to perform those to see where you may be able to become more efficient, if you will. That's all part of it. But an interim position is just that. It is a temporary position. There is no.
So what's the date on that? End
Oh,
date?
let me see. What did we put down here? August 5th.
That's the start. That's the start.
To start.
What's the end date?
It doesn't have an end date until you determine that it's no longer needed. And I know sometimes we put down here that until the, the appointment of the director position. But if in fact you're taking the director position off due to potential reorganization, then it would be hard to determine that date. But
I just remember last time when she was in the interim position and then we hired Martin. There was a grievance filed because of the planning and zoning administrator rule. And so we had to negotiate that. Because she went back to her B-24 and then there was a grievance, so then we had to negotiate. Basically create the senior position.
I think the
Because of-
senior position was created prior to that time. I'd have to look at those dates, but I believe it was. There was, that was created, I believe, when James in the other position was still here. We have to look at that.
Interim is what it says. It's on a temporary basis until either there is a new director hired or there's a change in the layout of land use department. Until that happens, she stays as the director on an interim basis.
Right, so that, as long as that's clear with everybody.
Well, or until the board decides they don't even want an interim. I mean, you could decide none of the above. You could decide a whole lot of things, but interim is until, and just your minutes can reflect that clarity until further.
Last week, we affirmed her position as senior environmental service director / zoning administrator.
Well, last week you confirmed her doing the What you confirmed last week was her doing the zoning administrator appointment. You
She's
did
been
not,
doing that the whole time.
yeah, but you did not confirm her banding or anything. The banding wasn't in question last week.
So it's understood that if this position goes away, she'll revert back to her original role, right? Is that okay?
I believe that should be very clear because she should have that right to go back to that
Right.
so long as those,
That's what I thought we did last week by affirming her.
no,
What was the point of last week then? Just,
because the confusion about the appointment of in statutory, we are required to have a statutory appointment of a zoning administrator. That role is rolled into the job description we have for the department director. So there was confusion as to whether or not she would back at the time you were talking about, I got this 2.5 years ago, something like that,
well,
as to whether she was still zoning administrator, if that was rolled into the director.
yeah, we made that
So we
appointment at a
wanted to-
meeting.
Clarify it for the record moving forward. That she's still functioning in that capacity because the statute requires we have someone appointed to that.
Right.
So that's all last week was, is just to clarify the record moving forward.
Well, I don't know. I worked with Amelia for 4.5 years on the planning commission. She's done a wonderful job. Anytime I've had any questions, I've got an answer.
Mhm.
She's got a septic license, she's got feedlot. How do you replace somebody like that? I think it's fair to go with what we're doing right here now until the internship changes. But I mean, you ain't gonna replace her, care how far you go.
So just number 2 is the only one you wanna
Pull
go
off for
for
now,
discussion?
'cause we're gonna try and hire her a tech. Then we can restructure this thing, move on.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make it everything clear to make sure we're understood and then basic fairness of how things usually work when people move up to positions like that. But
And
I get the extraordinary circumstances, and this is not a reflection on Amelia's abilities whatsoever. This is about
and Commissioner,
following our policy.
I appreciate you revisiting that because we do like to maintain consistent policies and practices. The challenge here is we have some very unusual circumstances and we have a real need. And we are fortunate to have an employee that can hit the ground running without missing a beat to fill in these roles. And also, it is important to clarify that she's entitled to return to her,
Mhm.
depending upon your reorganization and what you do in the future. She is entitled to return to the position she's currently in
So should we have,
without any, with advantage of her step that she normally would have in September and just move forward as if she fully functioned in that role.
so should we have that in here too? Is,
I think the minutes can reflect that discussion.
okay,
I still think we need to do a search to be prepared that if things do not change to land use, because we had a little bit of discussion in department heads yesterday. That, we need to be prepared in case that doesn't happen, and we need to have a director in place, and I'm sure Amelia can apply for the full-time status of that. This is an interim until we get things kind of figured out, and let the dust settle. Go from there.
May I add comment?
Mhm.
Chair to that. The one thing that would do for you is that your process would move forward as far as a potential search at the same time you are trying to evaluate your options. Otherwise, it does put you a little, it would put you behind time-wise. There's nothing to say on any search when we bring names forward that should you determine that budget-wise, organizationally, or whatever, I know it's unusual to change that course, but certainly you aren't committed to making a hire until the time that you actually
Correct.
Confirm that person's
But when we
employment.
initiate the search, you're gonna have applicants applying.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna do interviews, and then you're gonna offer the job.
And to
So
see if we have applicants applying. The
Well,
job
right.
market right now is real tough,
Yeah, so but if, let's say,
labor market. I should say.
so then you hire, you do interviews, you hire somebody, or you make an offer. You come to the board, then that's when we have a say whether we want to do it or not. So,
And a lot can take
I mean,
place
it's pretty much a done deal,
Oh, it's a done deal.
and pretty much.
if communication channels stay open. A lot can transpire between the time that you approve moving forward with a potential, going forward with your search to through your advertising before you even, I mean, there's quite a bit of time before you even call a candidate for an appointment. And you could close your search up. You have options, that's all I'm saying. And what that might be the best way to keep your staffing moving forward at a time when you're not quite sure. On the other hand, it makes it a little tougher to recruit when that is not known for sure how your organizational structure is.
Well, Greg's asked to pull this for discussion. And so number 2 is going to be pulled for discussion.
It doesn't disqualify as discussion right now,
Yeah.
for as much as we talked about. it.
Okay, so
You want to put it on action?
do you want to put it on an action item instead?
It's right here and you wanted to discuss it, so we've discussed it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but he wanted to pull it for discussion. And then
So how much
it's not in,
discussion
so
do
it's
you
not
think
in
we
the
need?
consent agenda to approve.
Yeah, I just
Do we
want
agree
to.
to pull? He asked to pull it for discussion. Now we've been sitting here discussing it. Does it have to be pulled or can it remain in the?
I guess if we don't get a second to his poll. I mean,
That's a redundancy, but if you want to pull it. Put it in. the
Well,
action item,
my
that's
main
fine.
reason, my main reason for pulling it is because we already opened up for next week. We're gonna hire a tech. So let's see if we get somebody for the tech first. And then we can, if we
Realize how
don't,
long it's gonna be before we get a tech app.
well, it might be a long time before we get any of.
well, keep in mind that
We need to have Amelia in charge.
Amelia is going to be appointed as the interim, so it's not like we don't have any.
We have one person to do 3 people's jobs. 2 if you're looking at that.
Well, we've had 3 people doing it before. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got Martin and Amelia, and then Holly does the solid waste. She's the office manager in her role, so.
We've had
We're
somebody
gonna
in there
hire
doing
another tech.
had somebody in there doing the clerical work and whatnot. Now we don't have anybody doing clerical. We don't have anybody in Amelia's spot because she's moving up there. She's gonna get swamped unless we get these advertising going, so we at least see if we're gonna get any out.
We can make a determination. If we get some, great. If we don't, then. But I think we already got the environmental specialist thing taken care of last week.
Not yet advertised.
Exactly.
That application hasn't gone published yet, right? For the tech. We approved it
No.
last week, but the tech application hasn't been published yet.
I don't believe it has. I would have to double check with Ann.
That was proved last Tuesday. That should have been in the ads. by the end of the week, it should have been posted, right?
Not necessarily, there's usually post the following week because of getting things ready and depends upon what else in the,
We advertised for the 50-50 clerical person.
we need to bring that to the board
We haven't done that yet either. But she's
No.
alone to do.
because we need direction.
We need. to-
We've gone to the committee, personnel committee, and also I believe individuals have talked with, that are involved in both these offices with the board, different board members. We would like to be able to go forward with that 50-50 position. We would like to bring that forward at the next meeting that
2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. But there was a lot of education back and forth, and then with the appointment of the interim administrator, that was, has been brought forth, and I think we'll be looking at some direction from the interim administrator regarding how to move these forward.
So Carol, what do you think? Should we just let this consent agenda be and move forward?
I think we could.
Knowing that it's the
It should
interim?
go both ways. It's not like there's probably going to be a change in the structure that we have in the next like couple of months, and it's going to take that long to do a search and
Okay. Well, then we'll just leave it as is.
Whatever.
So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Well,
Second,
Any further discussion? We'll go by roll.
District 1,
yes,
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Action items.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Consider approving resolution 2424, final acceptance of the airport hangar contract with NATO companies. Whatever, how's that pronounced?
I think you're right.
Yes, so this is for the construction of the taxi lanes that was completed last fall. We've been holding off on this, waiting for the vegetation to get fully established. So the original contract amount. Original contract amount was $283,601.00. The work certified is $271, $312.00. So the work completed work is about 12,000 less than the original contract. So recommended to approve this and get this project closed out.
Not often they come in under bid. I move to approve that resolution 24-24.
Well, second.
Any further discussion? So what exactly is this for?
This is the taxi lanes that were constructed to go to the new hangar.
So this is what we've already done.
Yes, this is, yep, this is the final payment. So there is 5% retainage held, waiting for the vegetation to become established.
Finished last fall.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll do roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to consider the MnDOT Aeronautics grant for the Fuel Master Card Reader Grant.
Yes, so the credit card system at the airport currently is a swipe system due to changes in requirements with credit cards. Now cards all have the chip readers, and it's a more secure way of doing business, and there's some liability issues on if we don't have a chip reader instead of the swipe. some liabilities that go to the county. So we've been working with Fuel Master system for updating the credit card reader. It's been going on for a few years. They finally have all the components put together where they can do the install for it. The credit card reader would be covered at 70%, state funds, 30%, local funds for all expenses for this installation. With the exception of we had put down some money in advance to hold our place in line to get this installed, and that money would be paid for by the county as it's already been. We've already had to pay some stuff, so some costs have already spent on this system. So this grant agreement, if you approve it today, would get $8,163.15 from the state to reimburse the county. Houston County's portion would be $3,498.39. Without this grant being approved, it'll be a 100% county cost. So recommend approving it.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
All right, number 3, consider clarifying 7/2/24 board minutes under file number 2 to indicate repairs to the building and not a new building. Brian, what's the beef?
Yeah, so after the board approved the minutes last week when they were posted, looking at the minutes, it said in there when it was talking about the Spring Grove salt shed, the minutes said a new hoop shed was needed. And replacement, there's a couple places in there, new hoop shed. I think it had 2 or 3 spots within the minutes. I wanted just to clarify or have it on the record that it's a new cover for the building. It's not an entire new building. So that's what was approved was the new cover at a cost of $10,000 to the county, not an entire new building.
It's more than just a cover though, wasn't it?
Well,
It was the
yeah,
trusses
yeah,
too,
and
right?
MCTs, yep, so insurance picking up the trusses. And then the board approved it, spent an additional $10,000 to replace the cover. The new covers and put the old cover back on.
So it is a new building.
There's a lot of trusses. 80% of the existing trusses are gonna remain. The bituminous, the asphalt floor stays the same, the concrete walls stay the same, none of that stuff's being replaced. Just, a few new trusses and brand new cover.
So I thought that we were gonna get all new trusses out of this deal.
No, only the ones that were damaged. So there was 10 truss sections and 6 or 8 cross members that were bent. So those are going to be replaced, but the rest of the trusses stay.
So it should be said as a replacement. Yep. Instead of a new building.
The repair of the existing building,
Exactly.
replacing those damaged parts.
Sorry,
No, it's,
it was a little confusing.
no. Were you getting grief about this?
No, we just want to make sure it's correct in the records when we go back in the future, that when it gets looked at by auditors. And
So how exactly do you want it to read that?
I think it's.
You got it in there?
Yep, in here.
crossing out what's in yellow there.
Putting in. Just crossing it out and putting in building, replacement building.
No, building repairs.
Yeah, so
I'm looking at everything in yellow here, building and cover.
Yep, so remove a new hoop structure shed was needed and capitalize repairs. And then add in there, replacement building cover. And then at the end there in yellow, new hoop shed cover.
So I'm just gonna make a note in the minutes and then redo it like you guys suggested. Because the minutes were already approved, I can't literally go back and change them. But I'll make a note that we clarified it.
So this will be just an addition to it.
It'll be under number 3 in the minutes this week.
Mhm.
That we clarified that.
All right,
With that clarification and the understanding. That it's repairs only, not in the shed, I move to. For number 3, clarify the minutes of July 2nd.
motion made. Is there a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? We'll do roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Number 4, consider approving UCare grant application to. So I gotta sign that.
Yeah.
All right, you grant for building renovations for the public health building. John.
Morning.
Morning.
So I mentioned this briefly at our finance committee this morning. Jordan had something come across her desk from UCare. UCare is an organization that covers some of the Medicaid administration in Houston County. And as such, they provide different community grants. So this grant opportunity came across her desk. It was to request a letter of intent for a grant as it relates to improving access to services for people with disabilities. So we submitted a letter of intent that was pretty broadly stated and kind of focused on security, client contact space, that kind of thing, in conjunction with what we're doing already with the funds that we had left over from COVID. And so this grant is due the 1st of August. I don't know exactly what the amount will be, but we wanted to be in front of you to get permission to pursue it since it needs to be submitted before you meet again. And I'll turn it over to Jordan. She may have a few other things.
Would just be the COVID grant focuses on kind of the front half, the entrance and the flow of the building and some of our clinical space. But if we're gonna do this and we are able to apply and receive this, we could focus on some soundproofing areas and services specifically for those with disabilities. Security and client flow to the back or when they come in for meetings. It's kind of further the renovation.
Question with regard to the grant, what is it a matching grant or 100% grant or what? The financing aspect of it, do we know?
We'd need to look at the application that just came out last week. Obviously, if it's a matching grant, it's that we got to figure out where we would match it, but I don't believe that that's the case.
How many dollars are we talking?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's up to $100,000. They're pretty competitive grants. So the idea was, let's submit a letter of interest because it could augment the work that we're doing since we're already there for some of the home and community-based services part of the building that isn't being touched by this renovation based on the requirements of Minnesota Department of Health. So we submitted the letter of interest and we're pleased that they have invited a full proposal. So we will be working with our design consultant to take a look at that, how we could incorporate some additional things for that other space. If that grant is funded, then we would move forward with that. If not, we wouldn't.
Makes sense. If you don't get the money, it don't get.
Right.
Right.
And the MDH money is very, very specific in saying, it really needs to be focused on clinical services, emergency preparedness, emergency response, vaccination, that kind of thing.
But that's what we're using the other dollars.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying is the MDH money has been very specific, so we've been very clear in our design that it has to be this part of the building for these purposes for us to be able to use that money. There are other things that we would benefit from, and since this is a grant that would touch some of that access for people with disabilities, we thought it was worth at least seeing if they would entertain a full proposal.
So where are we at on the other deal?
We've
With collaborative group there.
Yeah, we've met multiple times with Collaborative Design Group. I know I was out of the office last week. There was a meeting last week. I need to get caught up with Jordan, but our plan is to have that underway soon. They had some preliminary designs. They asked us some questions, so they were going to come back with some more drawings.
Kind of dollars we'll be talking about there.
We haven't seen a cost estimate, but they know very clearly what our budget is. And I've said, look, I've made a commitment to the board that we are going to do this within this amount of money. And so they're very clear with that. And I'm clear about it too, you know, so I mean, if they come back with something that exceeds that, we're going to need to make adjustments. Yeah. Yeah.
So this youth care grant will be a supplemental to that.
Correct. And
To
probably
do stuff you can't do with the others.
right. So this would be, if you think of the building, we do the clinical kinds of things with home or with family care, with vaccinations, and improving that flow of folks coming in emergency response. That's what the Minnesota Department of Health dollars, the COVID money we received that's been sitting there, can be spent for that. But we also do home and community-based services, disability services for people who are on MA waivers and things like that. The MDH money can't be used for any of that space. This money could be. And so that's what we're looking at. It's an opportunity to enhance the project if it's funded.
Opportunity and application only. It's no commitment on our part as far as dollars at this time.
Yeah, but if you apply for a grant, you're committing to it, right?
Typically, when we get a grant, I'll come back to the board and say, okay, we've been awarded this grant. And we'll have action that'll say you accept the grant from UCare for these specific things. So the funder will generally say, okay, we'll give you this money if you do this, this, this. And since I can't give you the specifics of the proposal, since we haven't completed it, we'll come back to you for approval to accept the grant. This is an approval to submit a grant.
They're going to ask for it, not to receive it. And
Correct.
spend it.
Yeah, but if you get a grant, you're gonna receive it, right?
Don't have to. Remember when we did that historical grant? We decided we didn't want to take that. Years back,
Yeah.
gives a bad name with the historical grant people. We didn't accept it.
As I understand it, typically what we'll do, a lot of our stuff is grant based, but it's more allocations. You know, the state will give us allocations for different things. Sometimes they call it a grant. But if we're applying for a new competitively, competitive grant, I want to come to you and say, we're going to submit this grant. I'd like approval to submit the grant. If it's funded, we'll come back for you to approve accepting the grant. And that way we'll be able to say it's for these specific things. And if there isn't support for that at the board, then we wouldn't accept the grant.
Well, I guess I'd like to have that information beforehand.
Kind of the timing of this. And that often conspires against us in the turnaround time for submitting proposals.
So is there a motion to approve the grant application for youth care for building renovations at the public health office?
I will make that a motion.
there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll do roll.
District one,
It's strictly applying for us, not
Correct.
pending at this time. Yes.
district two,
No, because there's not enough information to know what we're applying for.
district three,
Oh, yes.
district four,
Yes, as an application only.
district five,
Say application only, yes.
Number five, consider reviewing, approving and payments.
$1,000,000.
Yeah, Dunn Blacktop was a big one there for 1.3 million. Enterprise.
Part of that, you know,
Do we know is the blacktopping done?
For the most part.
For the most
We
part.
got, that was up on Highway 13 or County 13. They still got some hookups and stuff to do. Finish up the tying in.
I move to pay the bills as submitted.
Is there a second?
So move.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll do roll.
district one,
Yes.
district two,
Yes.
district three,
Yes.
district four,
Yes.
district five.
Yes.
All right, moving on to discussion items. I forgot to tell you this last week, but at our next work group session, Rich Cordes wants to come to discuss the courthouse, the old historic jail situation and what we can or can't do. He just wants to get more information. And maybe he'll have some more information he can share with us too, so.
Do we know what we can or can't do?
Hmm?
Do we know for sure what we can or can't do?
There are some things that we've found out that,
We can't transfer the property to them for dollar.
right,
We could do a long-term use. Ryan Swedberg did bring up an issue regarding the jail, if we were going to go to a full juvenile facility, that you need an outdoor recreation area, and that actually would be pretty much the only place that that could be put. So we'll make sure that he comes to the work group session for discussion. He was called on yesterday, usually for Friday.
Recently.
now, he's coming at their next workshops. That's all I've got as of right now. Dewey?
Department head meeting yesterday. If I missed something, Bob, you can fill in the highlights I got out of a lot of discussion yesterday, but Andy talked about the boardroom technology. Now we're at the week of October 7th. It's getting delayed as far as getting stuff here, but it's gonna happen. Talked about over in the Justice Building, water heaters. There's a couple of water heaters that are on their last leg, and we need to kind of consider two of them so that they match up when one relieves the other when there's a breakdown. And that's gonna be to the tune of about 65,000 per unit. That was a highlight or a low light, you're gonna call it. Polly talked about the new polling pads that may be needed next year. Basically, the ones that are the big bulky ones, updating them, so.
It's not the pole pads, it's the auto mark.
Auto mark.
More for people with disabilities.
Right.
When there's.
Right,
The big ones.
Polling place.
the auto mark. Not the pull pads, because we just bought new pull pads.
Right. Voting machines of the big bulky ugly ones. See other highlights here. There's some more, it's gonna be possible from the surveyor. Snyder, a possible increase of 10 to 15% in their fees. I got that written down right. And, those are the ones that I highlighted. I'm sure there's others that Bob felt. This morning's finance, meeting. We're at about the 6 month level. The income is ahead of the expenses thus far, so that's a good positive. Our interest. Investment interest is looking good. And Sheila reported from the highway department waiting on airport grant, the federal part to be paid. And on acquisition that we did last year, the feds are looking at everything and slow and reimbursing us for that. And then John talked about the UCAR Act. Those are my highlights, and that's the only meetings I've had. And Thursday, we have Parks Committee meeting. Oh, one more thing. Something that came out here last week about the Safe and Secure grant application. I think if you recall that perhaps we should look into that for over at the Criminal Justice Building. Updating the cameras there. I know Sheriff Sweatberg indicated one time the camera security devices are getting quite old, antiquated. This might be a chance for us to secure some grant monies for that. I didn't read all of the particulars, but maybe find out more about that grant application on the securing the courthouse building. That's it.
Bob,
Well, I had. For Hiawatha Valley Mental Health, I went to a Storm the Farm fundraiser event over by Winona on Saturday. Volunteered to help man one of the stations. We had a couple hundred people that ran 43K, 30K, 21K, 10K, and 5K races. Through up over the hills, up and around and down. Well attended. Like I say, a couple hundred people. It was very interesting as far as the group is concerned. They've raised, since they started Storm the Farm, that was the first one. Now they're Storm the Parks. There's 4 different storms now. Whitewater Park, some roads up by Rochester. Anyways, this one specifically goes to Hiawatha Valley Mental Health, juvenile mental health. And they generated $52,000 so far for that. So it's kind of interesting as far as that's concerned. Department head meeting, Dewey pretty well covered everything there that we talked about as far as those different things. One thing Brian did mention that on County Highway 2, they're about half done with the culverts. And County 13, we just mentioned that they're got the hookups left to finish up and pretty close to done with that. Then there's run into that any product. Finance, he covered that. I have a Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Board meeting this afternoon at 2. I got self-full meeting in Rochester at 5:30. I did have a question with regard to the lease of vehicles. And do we want to, since we have 3 leased vehicles coming up in September, we've ordered 1 new, do we want to start looking at used ones from local suppliers pretty soon, or just wait until September and look at just a question? And then the other thing I'm doing is, since the roundabout is an ongoing thing going to happen in 2028, I've been contacting the DOT and our legislators with regard to getting the money to extend Warrior Avenue from the school out to Highway 76. I know it's not a county thing, but it is in District 3, so I'm kind of requesting some answers on what we can do. Since it's my district.
so are you able to get a hold of anybody at DOT?
Well, I talked to the district engineer sent me to the local engineer who's local funding engineer who sent me to the local project engineer. Who said, well, we're gonna have a meeting about it next week, so I'll get back to you. So
Did he say which week, next week? or-
it said next week, but, and he said he'd get back to me. So. And I left a message with Greg David, but I'm sure he's campaigning. And I left a message with Jeremy Miller. Mostly a question with regard to the bonding issue, if they ever have it, or if they have another round of LRIP funding to get this done. That would be the detour when they do the roundabout, instead of sending people to Brownsville and up County 3 to California or something like that. That's all I got.
Commissioner Schultz.
I didn't have any meetings last week, so it was a pretty quiet week.
Greg.
I get to end her, huh? Thank God. I guess, I got a meeting on, Thursday afternoon, Wildcat. Got a zoning meeting Thursday night. Been out visiting some townships. Everything's going pretty good in the townships. So, another thing I think we should be looking at is getting an RFP for insurance. Talk to the union and some other companies to come in and give us a new quote. Cause a lot of people have been going to the union. Because it's cheaper.
For health insurance.
Yep, for health insurance. And that's all I got.
Okay. Any closing public comment?
I was just gonna make one more comment.
Sure.
That their safe and secure courthouse is, we got until the 26th for the application, so we can discuss it more next month here as we get closer.
Yeah, I pulled up the email too.
Yeah.
It would be a pricey project. It'd be like 400K plus
We don't know how much the grant would cover either.
50%. So we'd have to come up with the other 50%.
I-
That's not right.
Well, when I read the grant, there's only $500,000 in 87 counties.
Oh,
Depending on the grant process is going to be competitive, if everyone going to still be getting split if they're needing it. I think we probably have to research that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only $500, that's,
oh,
When I looked at that, I'm like, that's for the entire state, 87 counties.
that's a drop in the bucket.
that isn't gonna be much. No.
Wonder where to apply it.
I don't even
But it
know.
also doesn't mean that we have to do every single thing over there in the justice center. either. Just replace the cameras, let's say. Not the control station, work it in sections rather than do the whole farm.
Well, it sounds like we gotta find a recreation area first.
Well, that's under, not with the juvenile facility as we're doing it now, it's down the road. If we ended up not having prisoners, adult prisoners, like our jail was designed to, if we were to move to a strictly juvenile facility, then the others would be probably done through Winona County. Like if we only have 3 prisoners,
Mhm.
if we could make this a full juvenile facility, that's what he's talking about, where you need a recreation.
And not,
Not
Oh,
with the.
full time.
so it wouldn't be a combination, it'd be just one or the other. So if we were full juvenile and not no adult,
Then you,
okay,
but not with the. However many days it is now that they can stay, that's not the requirement.
The 8 day plus weekends and holidays, we do not need an on-site.
And you can.
We gotta get 8 beds.
Yeah.
We gotta get fill 8 beds up first. See.
any closing public comment? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Second?
Second, I'm sorry. I thought you seconded it.
I don't try and make motions. Roll Roll call, please.
District one,
Yes.
district two,
Yes.
district three,
Yes.
district four,
See you next week, yes.
district five.
Yes. Don't go flying in small airplane.